Welcome back, everybody. So this is our that final example that we're gonna solve. So let's do this one now in this video. So I already set up my project. So let me open that. But before that, let's read the question. So problem tells us, okay, write a C++ function named create a grocery list to create a grocery list using std array. Each item has a numeric quantity, so we call amount associated with it. So use a std pair object to accommodate that. Your function must fill the grocery list via the standard input for 5 items and return it. Do the following. So write your algorithm as code comments and then do the umpire process, implement the function, and then do these things. And then at the end, we got to do it in vector. Okay, so let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Okay, and we can copy all of it to our project. So I already created that, so I'm going to update that. This is the one. So I'm going to go over here. So this is the source file. So I'm going to do it in a big place. I'm going to select all of it and do that. Okay, so this is sort of now the first step of umpire process. What I do is basically the understand step, and okay, so first we need to figure out, so what's given, right? So that's the input. Okay, so input, right? So in this case, input, basically we create a grocery list. Okay, so the input, the grocery item, we have to take it from the C in. So okay, so I'm gonna write like C in. Okay, so we have to input those items, and then we have to write it. Okay, so the output is basically output, it's a std array. Okay, so of the grocery list. Okay, grocery list. All right, so that's the output. Okay, so let's right now what's being asked, like, is there any, are there any restrictions? Well, there's no restriction. Well, you have to use a pair object. Okay, so let's as the items inside. Okay, are items in the list. Okay, so and then we can nicely pair up the item and then the quantity. Like for example, sugar, right? So bring sugar and then 2 pounds, like something like that. So and that's what we usually do. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we add the amount as well. Okay, and also in this case, do it for 5 items. So you can, if you want, you can put it for as a restriction as well. It says that, okay, so given fixed amount, right? It's fixed number of and I think somewhere so that right, so what right, so each item has a numeric quantity. Yeah, so Yeah, so 5 items, right? So so let me put this, just quickly do this as well. And 3 and right, so 3.1. Oops. Right, so you have to print it sequentially, so and then randomly 3.2. All right, so and then finally we have to write a write it using we have to handle any number of items. So right, so we're gonna see how we do it. Okay, so this umpire process is not that complicated, right? So we are clear what being asked. So and then each item has two things. One is the quantity and its name. All right, so we're going to use a pair object for that, and then return std array of pair objects. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Okay, so let's write the plan. Okay, so the plan is simple. So step 1. Okay, so there's no parameter wise input. You can, by the way, input the array. You can define it outside and pass it. In this case, I'm going to actually return that array. Okay, so basically, right, so standard input to get the item, right? So we need to basically get the item name and then get the item quantity. Okay, so get item name. Okay, and then we can write, once we get it, we can actually write it like right to, okay, save item name. Okay, and then third step, get item quantity and save item quantity, right? So and this particular plan is a little bit vague, but it clearly says what needs to happen. So the terms are sort of different. So you will see that not exactly similar terms we have in the code, but that's all right. Okay, save item quantity. Okay, all right. So now, and then the next step, basically, we need to, for 5. So we have to do how many times? So that's basically what needs to happen, right? So this basically needs, all this need to happen inside the for loop, right? So that's actually, that should have been the first step then inside the function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it, okay, for, right, 5 items. Okay, and then this is the step 1, and this is 1.1 basically. Okay, so I'm going to get a tab, 1.1, okay, and 1.2, and then 1.3, right? So and then 1.4. Okay. So this way we fill it. Okay, and then in the main, so once we are done with this, then basically, return, right, to return the grocery list. Okay, so return grocery list. So that plan is simple. Okay, and in the main program, we just need to print in 2 ways, and we can do it in one randomly, and I'll show you how to, the other one sequentially from top to bottom. Okay, so that's the plan. So let me see. Yeah, okay, so that's the plan. So let's write the implementation. Okay. Okay. All right. So I already put the, oh no, I haven't this yet. Okay, so let's do that. So let's get the name of the function. Okay, so okay, so and it returns. It doesn't take any parameter, but it returns. Okay, std array, an std array of what? Okay, so before that, so let's get the file, and right, so that's that. And then it take, so one item, the first array items are std, oops, sorry, std pair. Okay, pair object. And then the next item is the size, so size is 5. Okay, so we take that, and then for this we need we put it just above, so and string. Okay, so I think we don't need that. I got, so we need this also need have two parameters, right? So what is the first item and the second item, right? So first item is going to be a string, right? So for that, so it's std string, because the item name is a string. Okay, so we need, for that we need the include string. Okay, and then that's the first item. Then the next item, so this is the first. So these are type parameters, right? The first item type is actually string, so we pass that. Second item type is the amount. So the amount, and then this is, there's some thinking to do, right? So it could be like, if it is like numeric items, like integer items, and it could be integer and as well as double value as well. Like for example, like like 2.5 pound of sugar or beans. So you have to put it double, right? But if you buy it's like whole, like cans or like that, like 3 cans of tuna, then it's an integer. So the best way to use it, you have to use double, right? So we put double. Okay. All right. So that's taken care of. Okay. And then it's done now. So this is the so in the array, so this is the type of the items that we're gonna put, and we're gonna put 5 of them. So this is a really nice example of this 5 over here. We call this non-type type parameter. Okay, so these are all we call usually commonly type parameters. And for this one, when you write templates, you can actually pass non-type parameters. It's numeric basically. So these are usually numeric, so you can pass them as well. So this is an example actually. Okay, so this is going to be the header. So you're going to take this and go to our CPP file and then start writing that. Okay, so and then we need that all of these as well. So I'm going to go over here and then get it, and then I think we get the uh, the file. So let's take that file. So include and then gr, and this is the one. I think most of these gonna go away. Yeah. Okay. And we might be printing, so we need to get the Well, let's see. Okay, so yeah, so let's now write our code. So we basically we need to ask for this these values, right, in a for loop. So let's do that. So the plan is for 5 items, get item name, right? For before that we need to declare an array, this kind of object. So let's do that now, right? So this is that, and then that is grocery list, grocery list. Okay, and then that's it. And then I can now at the bottom we can return this guy. All right, so right here, so we're going to start our for loop. Okay, and for int I equals 0 to I less than 5. So I mean, I pick 5. One is it's easy, less number of things to enter. The other thing is I can showcase, okay, so this inconvenience of having these fixed parameters, non-dynamic parameters. Okay, so I plus plus, and then basically we need to now add, right, one at a time, right? So this one, so there are 5 items, so we can take this guy. Okay, so now we're going to use indexing. Okay, so I, okay, equals, okay, so before that we need to ask this question, right? So we need to get the ask the user to enter this item, right? So for that we're going to std out. Oh, and and then we are going to basically excuse me. So we're gonna ask the question. Okay, so enter item. Okay, and then basically we can leave it there, and then in the line, and then basically, so it's a, what is it saying? All right, so we need to actually get that file as a IO, right? Include, sorry. All right, IO stream. So usually check it first. All right, and then we need to get the C in. All right, so then we C in. Okay, so C std C in. All right, oops. Okay, so now so what do we get? Basically we need a string, right? So we need a string, so let's define that in here. Okay, before the for loop. Okay, so std string, whoops, sorry, and then its type is basically the string, and then it's item. Okay, and we take item. Okay, and then so once we take the items we can get in there. So there's a problem with direct C in. The problem is basically once you hit the space bar, or enter key is definitely but once you hit the space bar, it's going to take it as a one input. So basically with direct C in, you can only get one, like a single word. So item can have like more than one word, right? So then that means you need to take care of that. So the way to do is basically through like this. We have this function called getLine, but it's in the header file named stream. Okay, so I already have it over here, so I'm gonna get it. Okay, so we're gonna get this file, okay, stream, and this has this method called getLine. Okay, so I'm going to do is I'm going to pass my C in there. Okay, so getLine. Okay, and it takes C in and then the item. Okay, so all right, so this way that space thing is taken care of, the space problem. Okay, all right, so and then basically once now that means we sort of took that inputted item into this, and then basically we know that this is the pair object, so the item first is going to be item, right? Okay, so here's it again. This one single value of in this grocery list is a pair object, so we need to assign the item to the first one. That's what we are doing. So we use a dot notation and get the first access, the first item, and then we put item in there. And the next one, in the same level of the iteration, we need to get the amount, right? So for that, we're going to create a double variable over here, amount. Okay, so and then that for that we're gonna excuse me, we're gonna go do this. Basically again it's get line. Okay, and then this is amount, and we know that it's going to be well, yeah, so it's going to be yeah, so that this is there's an error because this value is double, right? So what we need to do is basically we get it. Let's see. I'm going to take a let's take a different variable name. We can use item, or let me get item name. Otherwise, it's confusing, right? It's less confusing this way. Okay, item name. Okay, so we get this one here. Okay, so this oops, come on. All right, so date. Okay, all right. So we did that. We do that, and then we pass this. We need another. So now we need to convert this name, item name. Sorry, should be item amount. Sorry, sick. We already have the item name. Okay, so this one right here, and then we got the amount. So we need to now convert this to a double. To do that, actually, we have another file, another method called std string stream. Okay, so see that this is the one. Okay, all right, and then we pass this value. Okay, to that, and that's going to give us the amount. Okay, so that's how we do it. Okay, so now this is a double value. Okay, so so basically it takes the value and then spit out double. So what string stream going to do is basically it's going to infer the type from the type given in this amount and then convert it accordingly. Okay, so this is a string and it converts that to a double. Okay, and then that's amount. So and then basically we take the amount and then we do the same thing right here and then we write amount. Okay, so that's the second item. Okay, so we need to do this dot and then it's second. Okay, all right, so we got that correctly. Okay, and then let's give this a try and then we can now we can now print in the main program, right? So we can go over here and we don't need this. Usually delete this stuff. This is Qt stuff. We don't need that as well. I stream. Okay, so and we're gonna call and then print, right? So we are going to create a similar object in here. Okay, and then we can assign that our return value. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in my main program. Okay, just to create a grocery list object. Okay, and then I can okay, so we need to get that file as well. So let me guess this one. We have it over here. Well, in here. Okay, so all right, so and then this should be equals to the return value of our function, right? So let's take that. So we're going to call this function. Okay, and that's it. All right, so well, okay, there's a problem over here. Let's see what it is. All right, so we haven't called that header, right? So that's why. So oops, and we need to call that header. Let's take all right. Okay, so all right, so it's okay. So now we have a grocery list object, so we're gonna iterate this. So I'm going to show you a trick to iterate. Okay, so this is of course we can iterate simply using an index, right? We can also use an iterator object. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to go to the documentation. It's array. Okay, and you can get an example actually. So begin. Okay, so in this example you can see that, so this is iterator voice iteration of uh, uh, of a container. Okay, so std arrays, these are available but not c type arrays, so we cannot use c type array and iterators. So that's one of the advantage of having those containers. So there are a lot of versatile features available. So what we do is basically it's we use auto, so it's automatically infer the type. Okay, and then that first item is begin, right? So that's where we start, and then the ending. So it's a regular for loop. Okay, and then the ending is the end value. Okay, and then the incrementation. So this is actually a pointer actually. Okay, and then we increment that pointer. Okay, so and then it's really equivalent to a regular for loop. Instead of we have that int I and then stuff, we have this begin, end, and those values. Okay, so what we have to do is like we can simply copy this, and then I'm going to paste that in there. Okay, so um, okay, so right here. All right, so instead of my array, we have grocery list, right? So got that, right? So now, so we are going to print, right? So std, okay, the out, okay, and then we're gonna get one of these. Okay, so 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 this is what we are iterating, the concept of the iterator. Okay, so here we have an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this example, this one. So we have this example. So it's about std array, and an array has this feature called iterators. Okay, so this is an example of this an example of using an iterator to iterate a container. Okay, so many std containers that are iterable, you can actually iterate them. So but this feature is not available in C type arrays. This is available in this std array, and that's why these are really versatile containers compared to plain arrays. Okay, so see that auto, basically if you use auto, C++ going to infer the type from the value. So auto it, and then we have this begin iterator. All right, so it's basically the my array object dot begin, and that's actually the start, and then it less than or equal to the end iterator, right? So that's the ending, and then in between we're gonna increment. So it's really equal to, like, similar to the normal for loop. Instead of like index values, we have these begin and end iterators. Okay, so let me copy this whole thing, and I'm going to change that. Okay, okay, so let's go over here. Oops, copy that, and instead of we have grocery list, let's do it over here. Okay, and then so this gives you this one it is basically a pointer to an pair object inside. Okay, so so first what we need to do is we need to that we are going to print, right? So let's std c out, and we're gonna print this it. Okay, so and then we're gonna put a comma, right? So we need to put the price as well, and okay, so here, right, I'm going to dereference this because this is a pointer. Okay, so all right, so then I'm going to put the dot. Okay, so that's first. Okay, and so we're gonna print the name. Okay, and then so what I did was, so this is this is a pointer to each object that we are going to iterate one by one. So that means it's a pointer variable, so we need to dereference. So that's what I did over here. And then I use the dot notation to access the first item inside. And that's the grocery item. And then we're going to put the next item, which is the second, the amount. And right here. All right. So this should be second. All right. So that's it, and then we're going to print it. So let's try this out now. Okay, so and you will see that this will not work in Qt. The reason is this many of these IDEs are not designed to take values from command line. So cin take the value from the terminal, right? So we have to basically sort of configure a certain set of command line values, but in this case we are going to enter 5 one at a time. It's not that feasible. So I'm going to build this, but it will not run. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the command line and run it there. Okay, so let's build anyway. All right, so so that's why it's kind of printed gibberish. Okay, so see that it took its own set of values, which are basically nothing, and then printed those values, and then first item is empty, and then the other item is sort of default value for double. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to command line, and let me copy this path. Okay, and it was, oops. Okay, let's see. I'm going to close this and open again. CD to that. Okay, and then I'm going to put the IR, and you can see the exe file. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. Let's run it. Okay, so it's asking to enter item, to say apple, apple. Oh man. All right, and then it's, I think I didn't make it prompt. Did I prompt it to enter? Let me see that. Did I ask? Oh, yeah. So it's okay. So I didn't put a prompt there. So we're gonna put the values. Say like 5 apples. And the next I couldn't do is we didn't do the slashing, like marking it out. Okay, so let's do that as well. So right here, so we once we not there, so we go to main program. Okay, so we can before we print it out, we can, since we are printing one by one, we can assume that, okay, so that's okay, so the shopper going shopping according to the list from top to bottom, and some do that, some see the easiest to grab like randomly, right? So if you look around and you see that thing, okay, then grab it. and then likewise it's randomly filling the getting the items, right? So now you can think of this as sequential. So before we do the printing, we're gonna basically add the slash mark. Okay, so I was going to add the check mark, but unfortunately it's a hassle to print Unicode values, Unicode characters in Windows. So I said no, we're gonna go ahead with adding slash mark. It's similar. In Linux, it's pretty straightforward. You put the Unicode character in there, and then for the check mark, and then it's gonna print the check mark. But in Windows, I found it difficult. So let's. So what we need to do is we're gonna take access this value. So this is a string, right? This is the item. Okay. So we're gonna do append, and we're gonna pass the slash mark. So that means like we cut it off, like we took care of it. Okay, and that's it. And then we print it again. Okay, so we can run it again. So I'm going to build it, and let's run it over here. Okay, so all right. So first item, I'm going to put like AAA and 2 DDD and 5 and CCC, and I'm going to put a space and EE, and then 4 and 3 and 4. All right, see that the slash is added to the end. Okay, so we took care of printing from top to bottom. So let's now go and print from randomly. Okay, so for this, how do we print something randomly? So that's the question, right? So there are many ways you can create. So in this case, we only just have 5 things to print randomly. So we can create a random array of up to 5. So we're going to have all uh, numbers from 0 to, let's say, 4, and but they are arranged in the array randomly. Okay, so we can create one of that. So the easiest way to create one such thing is actually using random um, shuffling algorithm. So this actually is available from C++. So I wanted to show you guys that as well. That's what I asked. That's why I asked that question. All right, so let's check that. Okay, so I think it's over here. I open it and they are actually on that one. Is that this? No. Okay, so it's not the one. Okay, I think we need to find out that. Okay, this. All right, so let me just. It's not in here. So C++. This is how you search. Okay, C++ random shuffle. Okay, shuffle array. So you should get something in there. All right, see that steady shuffle. That's what I was looking for. Okay, and on this one they have actually so this is shuffle. All right, this we need actually random shuffle, so let's click on that. Okay, so that's why this resource is really good. Actually, c++.com, they have put nice examples as well. So and then you can take a look at this example. Okay, so what we need is we need this algorithm algorithm library, and that has random shuffle. Okay, and then the rest is the stuff are actually other stuff they use in the program. So we're gonna take this. Okay, so we're gonna call that in our gonna take that in our program. So right over here. Okay, and then we are going to let's take this way. I'm going to create built-in random. It's going to use built-in random number generator. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this, okay, and let's put it over here. Okay, for now. Okay, so one thing we can do is we can like get our std array, all right, and then shuffle it. So we can do that. But so well, it's the easiest. Let's do that. And the other thing is we can create, so up to 5, right? So we can create array of std array, another std array with up to 5 numbers, and then we can shuffle it, and then iterate that, and then use those indexes to access each item. Either way it is fine. So this is easiest actually. So we're gonna do this. Okay, so what we are going to do is it's a random shuffle, and now this is our guy, so we're gonna use this, and then that. Okay, and now we're gonna print. So well, we can do this. I'm going to redo this follow so that you guys can have the code. So over here. Okay, so we're doing it again. Okay, all right. So let's see how this works. Okay, so it's shuffling happen right now. Okay, so that's taken care of. So this we should see shuffled. Let's gonna get printed again. Okay, so let's try this. I'm gonna build it first and then go here and then try. Okay, so the item, so A and 1, B and 1, sorry, 2, C and 3, and D and 4, and then E and 5. All right, so see that, so this is the sequential one print, and this is the random print. And you can see that first is 5, 2, 4, 3, 1. It's the random, right? And accordingly, right, so the items also printed that way, right? So right, it's this is the random printed one. Okay, so all right, so we solved the problem for a fixed number of items in the list, but nobody create only 5 items with 5 lists, right? Could be anything. It could be just 1, could be 5, could be 100, right? So then how do we accommodate any number of items? So that's the problem. Okay, so we're going to write a different function for that. Okay, so first I'm going to copy the whole thing, and so let's figure out a suitable data structure for this. Okay, all right. Of course we can create use a dynamic regular array for this. Okay, and then take the parameter inside, and then using cin the size, and then we can create that one. Okay, so I let you guys do that. Okay, but I wanted to use it here is a vector. Okay, so we can use an std vector for this. So the advantage of vector is it's only a little bit of performance drawback compared to regular C arrays. The advantage is, it's dynamic. When it gets close to the filling, it's automatically get it's doubled, and it's depending on the compiler. Some compilers use the golden ratio. It's 1.61 times it's gonna get resized, but I see that in mine it's actually get double. Okay, the size when it close to the last item, when we are adding close to the full one less than full mark, it's going to get doubled, and then that way it accommodate more entries. Okay, same way for when you delete stuff, it's going to get size halves. Okay, all right. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a vector. Okay, so std vector, and vectors doesn't have two parameters, just one. We just need to grab the library. Okay, and then vector. Okay, all right. So and then it's going to, where did I change it? Okay, it should be over here. Okay, so it has a pair object. Okay, it's a single pair object. Size is going to take care of it. Okay, and it's going to the same thing. It's going to, we need that over here, the grocery list. Okay, and the rest are like that, and then we just need to, there's no first and then things, we just be basically this one, all right. So this is grocery list. Let me get the, all right, it should be okay. Push back. Okay, so we need to create a pair object, and then we need to push it back. Okay, so that's what we need to create. So we're gonna create that. Let's create that pair object over here. Okay, so std pair, and let's say item, not item. So let's say yeah, say item. We have it over here, right? So a pair, right? So that's, and then we're gonna update it outside. Okay, so there's two things we have. So we're gonna update it outside, and then we're gonna put it here. Okay, so push back and like this. Okay, so we need to update this pair object right over here. Okay, so we got the, oh, I think we need to let's see, got the item, so we need to, yeah, okay, so dot first equals the item, right? So it took care of the first one. The next one, it's these three lines goes, okay, should go above. Okay, so cut this and put it over here, and then we don't need that, and all right, and that going to be amount. Okay, so all right, so we created the, sorry, this should be second. Okay, so in this right here and right here, we are creating our pair object, and then we basically push back is actually it takes a parameter, whatever we need to push into our vector as a parameter, so we push it, so we pass it, and then it's gonna fill it up. Okay, all right, so and then we can that's it. so we have and then we return, right? So we need to return this guy, grocery list. All right, we are doing it already. So I'm gonna put this guy into the header, otherwise they're not complete. Okay, so now we go to oh, what was that? I think we need to yeah, we need that sorry, we need those header files. Okay, so but I think I can do this. We'll do it over here. Let's see. All right, so that oops. Okay, so this go to this one, see if it's, yeah, we didn't need that actually, so let's put that. Okay, all right, so let's go to main program and call this as well. Okay, so I'm going to, we can randomly shuffle that one too. Yeah, okay, so this one we don't have a size restriction, so let's create that object anyway first. Okay, this is actually vector. So grocery list 2. We get this whole thing over here, the type. Okay. Okay, and this should be 2, right? Okay. All right, so we created that object. Okay, and then we're gonna do the random thing, right? So okay, so you're gonna shuffle grocery list 2 begin, and then you can see that this random sorry, this iterator thing, begin and end, is if the container is iterable, it's implemented in C++. So you don't have to write these iterators. Okay, we're going to learn how to write iterators later in this class, but which is a great feature actually. So, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel in especially with containers. And then sometimes if you try to manually do this stuff, um, it's the interviewers don't like it because it's already there in the standard library, and then if you are doing it manually means you are reinventing wheel and wasting time, and they don't like it. Okay, and then it's also a good way to showcase that this stuff. Okay, so it's good to know that this stuff. All right, so we change the name to list 2 and then shuffling it again, and then we're gonna do this. So we are going to iterate, and that also again a pointer. Okay, so and then let's see, yeah, that's it. Yeah, this should take care of the thing. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to block this. This is waste of time to re-enter stuff. So let's create this, let's run this. Okay, so all right, so I let it run, and then I'm gonna go over here and then run in the command line. Okay, all right, so first item, AAA 1, DDD 2, CCC 3, DDD 4, EEE 5. That's it, and then I printed that. Again, randomly, right? So see 3, 2, and then they are randomly ordered. And then the other thing is, did we do it for 5? So let's check. Well, okay. So we are doing it over here for, that's, I need to verify, by the way. Yeah, we did it for phi, right? But that phi, and then we can actually do this in a while loop, and as long as while loop condition fail, we can do it. Okay, so that means there's no size restriction. All right, and we can do that actually. All right, so let me say like yeah, so let's try to do it in a while loop. Okay, so this is the one, so let's gonna do it while. So let's put a condition. What is it, like, as long, let's say we can use one of this amount as our checker, or you can put a yeah, so let's put a like, do you have any more to enter, something like that, in down at the bottom, right? So right, so it's a checker, something like that. So let's create that in a string. Okay, so checker check, and it's equals it's empty, and then we're gonna take it through this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask the question, okay, do you have any more items to enter? Any more items, say. Okay, any more items, and then you're going to read it into check. Okay, and then if the user say no, and that's going to be our condition. Okay, so while check not equals no. Okay, and we're going to do this. All right, so let's run this. All right, so let's run this again. So this time I'm going to go for like 3 and then stop it. Okay, so all right, so let's say A1. Any more items? I'm going to enter, just enter, so it's not no, right? So BB2. Okay, I'm going to hit again, and item CC. Let's go for 7. Okay, and let's see why it is not asking. Oh yeah, so 3, enter, hit again, no, so it's DD, 4, again, not no, so EE, say 5, and not no, and FF, and oops, 6, and not no, and GG, 7, and I'm going to say no now. Okay, all right, so it printed all those values. Okay, see that we didn't have to have a size limitation, and we could have gone as long as we have things with this simple vectors. Okay, so I know that for almost all of you guys, this is new. Okay, so because 110b doesn't teach you templates. Okay, but this is the time to learn it. Okay, in this class, so that's why I even actually fought for this in faculty meetings, because they were trying to remove this, and then in Java we call this generic programming, in C++ we call it template programming, and it's it's a really standard, this really valuable feature, and they were going to remove it, And I said, no, we need to have it, and this is why. So and then they actually kept it, right? So that's why we have it in the curriculum. Okay, so this is the time to learn this. So it's clunky. That's really you can see that, right? It's you can see it in the code. Sort of it has this. I think it's running. It's in here because there's no. I'm gonna stop it. All right. So okay, so yes, it has that sort of complicated format, but that should not be a reason to back away from it. Because if you get this, like if you practice this again and again, and you see that it's really straightforward, what's being done there. It just you need to give it a chance, and then keep trying at it. Okay, so so that's why. Okay, so yeah, so that's that, and then we wrote it, so we took care of the uh, writing it using built-in dynamic arrays, which is vectors. Okay, so we didn't have to delete, okay, because again in C++ std vectors the feature is implicitly uh, like taken care of, the memory management. So you don't have to explicitly delete the object. Okay, and we can, by the way, so still it's running. I cannot. I'm struggling to stop it. So how do I? It's because that while loop. It's for Qt. It's infinite loop because it's checking for not no, and sorry, no. So no, it's not getting, so it's empty, so it's continuously running right now. It's an infinite loop right now. So let me try to, I think probably have to close it and then come back. That's a bummer actually. All right, yep. So I'm gonna open it again. All right. All right, so let's open this grocery list. Okay. All right. That's it, guys. So what I want you guys to do is you guys should try. Um, you can try standard C array, like C type array, and then dynamically allocate that, and then get this done. So you should try that. And can we use std array? Unfortunately, no, because again, so that this parameter right here, so let me right here, std array, this guy need to be a constant. Okay, so whether it's coming, I mean, doesn't matter whether it's coming, it has to be a constant value. Okay, so some compilers though may run it, and for example, I could actually run a standard C array with something that I use to get from C in. Whenever we get something from standard input, that's dynamic because it happened in runtime. So I was able to run a standard array, get the dimension of the array through C in, because my compiler support GCC extensions. But it's not a standard feature. Standard C++
there's no saying that you can run as regular C array from the size parameter taken dynamically. So it's not in standard C++. But some compilers like GCC, they have a thing called GCC extensions. They are experimental features that they are trying externally to the standard. So I mean, they recommend C++ standard recommend not to use them because you're gonna hurt portability of your program, because it may not run in some other operating system. You may not be able to compile in some other operating system. And though it may run in Linux, it may not run in Windows because of that feature. Okay, so yeah, so again, that's the reason. So this guy has to be a constant. So we cannot take it from the input, but you can try. So some compilers may allow it. Okay, all right, guys, that's it. So and I'm going to stop over here. So it's time for me to create video lectures now. So there are a whole lot of hours. So I spend about 5 hours right now. So I'm now thinking, how do I create these video lectures? Because I don't want to overwhelm you guys as well.